Hey everyone, Mundo here. If you would like to support the show, please head to patreon.com/crimeandcourtusa. Yo! What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 41 of Crime and Court USA. I'm recording this on April 13th, 2022. I'm your host, Mundo Carrillo. I hope you guys are doing well. I've been doing okay. It's wind seasoned out in New Mexico. You know, springtime, we just get these crazy wind gusts. I have bad allergies, so all these pollens and stuff are flying around, getting in my nose, making us all very, I don't know. We're not sick, right? When you have allergies, we're very miserable out here right now. You know what I mean? Yeah, but the wind is also not helping these fires that have popped up in New Mexico. It is, unfortunately, wildfire season as well. That early spring kind of early summer kind of time of year. It's when we get all our forest fires, and there's one burning down. There are a few burning here now, but there's one burning by Ruidoso, New Mexico, that's already taken out people's houses, forced evacuations. Yeah, thoughts go out to you guys. Wherever you guys are, I hope you guys are safe. All right, let's get into some news. First off, this comes from the New York Times. Police in New York have arrested a man they suspect of opening fire on a Brooklyn subway Tuesday morning, hitting 10 people in total. 62-year-old Frank R. James allegedly put on a gas mask and threw 2 smoke grenades on the floor of the train before firing 33 shots around 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday. 10 people were hit by bullets and 5 were placed in critical condition, but are expected to survive their injuries. A total of 23 people were injured, including some who suffered some smoke inhalation and suffered panic attacks, stuff like that. James was captured in the East Village on Wednesday after police got a tip that he was at a McDonald's in the area. He is charged with committing a terrorist act on a mass transit system and faces life in prison. He previously had 9 arrests in New York and 3 in New Jersey, mostly for misdemeanors though. And he had also posted several videos on YouTube where he would go on these long, vitriolic, and hate-filled rants. I didn't watch any of them myself, but that's what the New York Times was saying, that it was just full of bigotry, full of hatred, that kind of stuff. You know, I say that kind of stuff a lot. I got to work on that. But, normally people who commit these things, they usually always have, whether that's online posts or videos where they just go out on these long, hateful rants. It seems pretty par for the course here, allegedly. According to police, James rented a U-Haul van in Philadelphia, and a key to that van was found in a collection of belongings on the train that was believed to have belonged to the gunman, and those items included a Glock 9mm pistol, 3 magazines, a hatchet, fireworks, and liquid that is believed to be gasoline. The van that he rented was found about 5 miles from the station where the shooting took place, so he originally took a train from somewhere else, committed the shooting at one station, and then hopped on another train that actually, a bunch of people who fled the train that the shooting was on, they fled to the same train that he fled to as well, and he was caught about 30 hours, I think, after they started looking for him. Now, they could have maybe found him sooner. Apparently, some security cameras in the station where the shooting mostly took place, that they weren't working. At least Mayor Eric Adams said at least one wasn't working, but either way, they got their guy. On Tuesday, the day of the shooting, they had only listed him as a person of interest. That's different from a suspect. Person of interest could just be someone who has information about the crime or something. A suspect is the person that they suspect of doing it. So now he's actually, I think he's charged with it. He's actually more than a suspect. He is now a defendant. He is now defending himself against these charges. So yeah, it's just too bad. Just another straight up act of terrorism in our biggest city. It's unfortunate. Happened during 8:30 a.m. during the morning rush. Someone from, I think, Reuters, and I forget the name. I'm sorry. And I should be better at quoting the sources here. But I was just scrolling along, and I just saw this photo. It was pretty graphic. There was blood on the floor and stuff, but it really gave you a sense of what was happening that morning. And man, my heart goes out to New Yorkers, man. That just sucks. I think I've said this on this podcast before, but I think in my lifetime, I'm 34 years old now, I might be part of a mass shooting. Like, I hope not. but statistically speaking, I mean, could I be at the grocery store one day when someone decides to do it? I don't know. That's why it's called terrorism. I mean, these things kind of strike terror. They strike fear in you. And, after an attack like this, people, I'm sure, are going to be scared to ride the subway, which I've never been in New York City, but I understand that's a pretty common way to get around the city. So that's very unfortunate. But it looks like they got their guy, and he is the lone suspect. So hopefully he is the guy. All right, let's go on. Some Supreme Court news. Ketanji Brown Jackson has been confirmed as the newest Supreme Court justice, and she becomes the highest court's first black female justice. But she won't be sworn in until Justice Stephen Breyer retires this summer. So the Senate voted 53 to 47 to confirm Jackson, with only 3 Republicans crossing the aisle and voting in her favor. Because remember, the Senate is split 50-50, Democrats and Republicans. Jackson is 51 years old and is currently a federal appeals court judge. And this is the first time that the Supreme Court will have 4 women, the others being Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Jenna Fisher. Amy Coney Barrett, excuse me. She basically has the job until she dies. So congrats to her. So it's a luxury that most of us don't get, but that's how it goes in the Supreme Court. So once again, congratulations to Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. I don't know. If I could just editorialize here for a sec. It's just, I didn't realize how political the Supreme Court was until I started Crime in Court USA and started paying more attention to the Supreme Court. I mean, it's just all about getting judges who are conservative leaning or liberal leaning just to vote in your favor. I mean, that's evidenced by this vote, this 53 to 47, with only 3 Republicans breaking rank there. I mean, it's just all about getting your guy on there. And this new study that's going on, or I forget what you want to call it, where they're saying if they want to add more justices to the Supreme Court, that's being criticized as a Democratic move to just get more justices. I think they're looking at the idea of 14, just to swing the liberalness, I guess, in your favor, because as of right now, it's 6-3 conservative majority. And I've noticed from opinions that I've read that, the conservatives do go one way, like you think a conservative person would go, or someone who has conservative leanings would go, and the liberals go the other way that you would think that liberals would go. For example, there was one about juvenile life sentencing that I think the conservatives said that, it's perfectly fine for states to sentence the juveniles to life without parole, and then the liberals were like, no, they were kids, they should have a chance at parole. I think I'm getting that right. I'm going off the top of the dome here, so I'm hoping that I'm remembering that correctly. But that's kind of the way you expect it to go. So you would think we would have one institution in this country that wasn't partisan, but we can't. We can't have anything nice. Even the Supreme Court's political. Sorry, guys, it just is. All right, let's change it up here. Let's talk about it. We got to talk about it. It's the biggest news story, I think, ever since it happened. And that is Will Smith and the slap. The slap heard around the world. So Will Smith got banned from the Oscars for 10 years for slapping Chris Rock at this year's ceremony after Rock had made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, Smith had previously resigned from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences and apologized publicly to Chris Rock, but the Academy had already announced that it was investigating the incident and was considering possible disciplinary action. So he kind of maybe got ahead of that by just resigning, but the Academy still wanted to hold him accountable, so it banned him from all organization events for 10 years to include the Oscars. So it's not just the Oscars, it's everything that the Academy puts on. Big William Style himself issued a statement and said he respects and accepts the Academy's decision. So apparently the people who make decisions at the Academy are called governors, and according to the LA Times, some of those governors had suggested that Smith be required to undergo anger management therapy, but that didn't gain much traction. It's like, he's a grown man. He could take care of that himself. Smith, of course, if we could recap the incident, he walked onto the stage after Rock had said he was looking forward to seeing Smith's wife in G.I. Jane 2. Jada suffers from alopecia, which causes sudden hair loss, so she's bald. And G.I. Jane, Demi Moore shaves her head. She's bald. So they're both bald is the joke. You guys know the whole deal. So Smith then gets up, walks the stage, and slaps Chris Rock, turns around, just walks back to his seat. And then while he's there, he's shouting at him, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. He's not mic'd up, but he's yelling it so loud you could hear it Chris Rock's mic, I guess, whoever's mic's hot, you know. And this was censored in America, but of course, clips from overseas, I think the Japanese and the Australian broadcasts weren't censored, so they were making their way onto Twitter, and, you know, you could see it in all its glory there. Of course, after this whole thing broke out, Smith later accepted the award for Best Actor for his role in King Richard and talked about being a protector and, I don't know, stuff like that. It was a bit unhinged. After I saw that speech, I was like, man, Big Willie's lost it, man. I don't know what's going on here. Like, he was rambling, he was crying. It was weird. It was very weird. Now, I didn't see the slap live, but I did watch it as soon as Twitter was blowing up about it. And then I did catch the acceptance speech live. And yeah, I guess I wish him the best. You know, I am a Will Smith fan. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is one of my favorite shows of all time. A classic. So I do hope that he gets it together, man. You know, he's obviously, I mean, I don't want to rehash the whole Jada cheating on him thing and telling him to his face in like such a public way on her podcast or show, whatever she does. I mean, apparently from what I heard, that's like the first time he ever heard about it. So she did him dirty there, man, if you ask me, but whatever. You know, if he wants to separate from her, he can, I guess. Yeah, you know, how many times did he make fun of Uncle Phil on Fresh Prince, you know, for his weight? Straight body shaming him. Rest in peace of James Avery. He was my uncle too. All right, some sad news to report here. Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Dwayne Haskins died after getting hit by a dump truck early Saturday morning in South Florida, and the 24-year-old was declared dead at the scene. A witness told NBC6 South Florida that he saw a man in the middle of the right lane of Interstate 595 near the Fort Lauderdale airport, possibly raising his arms in the air. Other drivers started veering into the left lane to avoid the pedestrian, and this witness said that it was disturbing to see a man in the middle of the road because he knew that he was going to get hit. The crash is still being investigated, but so far no charges have been filed. And Haskins was in South Florida working out with other NFL players. It seemed like he was going to battle with Mitch Trubisky for the starting spot in Pittsburgh due to the retirement of longtime quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, sad news there, man. Sad news. Only 24 years old. Seems like he had a career ahead of him. You know, he was a starter of the Redskins, but I guess it didn't quite work out in Washington. So he was going to have a new start in Pittsburgh, you know, and man, it was just cut short. It's very unfortunate. And more sad news, guys. We got more sad news. Gilbert Gottfried has passed away at the age of 67. He had myotonic dystrophy, which apparently affected his heart. His family called it a long-time illness. Super sad, man. Aladdin was my favorite movie when I was a kid. Still like one of like my all-time like favorite Disney animated movies. And yeah, he was hilarious as Iago. You can't mistake that voice, man. Once you hear that voice, you know exactly who it is. Comedy lost a legend right there. And that is about all for this week, guys. I appreciate you listening. Remember to share the podcast with your friends, share it with your enemies, make amends, come together over this show. Leave a rating on podcast services. That really helps out. I think that'll help me get to the top of the charts for news and stuff like that. So that would really help. I would appreciate that. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/crimeandcourtusa. I actually do have episodes of Crime and Court Extra in the works, so you can get those for just $1 a month. And of course, I'll announce when those are live. So until next time, guys, my name is Mundo, and I'm out. Peace.